Hey guys, Kyle here. So, just before the show starts, I wanted to mention our Patreon. You can pay us $1 a month as a thank you, as a tip. You can pay $2 a month to get access to one of our bonus content shows, episodes 2 days early, and a secret Discord chat where all of our Patreon donors get to go and hang out and talk with us directly. Then there's a $5 tier that you can donate to get access to a whole bunch more content. We have multiple bonus episodes on there. So please check it out. Patreon.com/itgetsweird. We don't advertise, we don't make money. So check it out and throw some money if you think that would be cool. Thanks. Welcome to It Gets Weird, our comedy show where we explore the unusual, the unbelievable, and the unexplained to try and make your world a little weirder. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Niall.
And Niall, I have a pothole update.
Okay, what's your pothole?
They filled
update? They did. I saw they did fill some of them. Some of them are still existing. There's one over by Costco that threatens to kill me half the time.
Yes, that one. There's some pretty bad ones.
Yeah,
but a lot of the ones surround. Like I basically had a moat of potholes for a month. Over a month.
You had an obstacle course like on the road leading to your apartment. It's pretty ridiculous.
Pretty fucked up. So pothole update. Everybody was hankering. We got so many emails going, Kyle, please tell me what happened with that. And I was like, all right, Jesus Christ. Fine, shut the fuck up about it already.
And an update of the other thing, there's still people driving over the little grass barrier between the parking lots at my apartment.
Those people have all been dragged out back and shot.
One little fun note for the people really listening. In the last episode, there was a time when someone did it, but I didn't say anything. So that's just like a fun little aside for people.
See,
Easter egg.
You're facing the window. I'm facing the computer's X-rays and radiation coming off of it. So
I like to tan the side and back of my head with the computer screen and look outside, and you get to like view the radiation.
My
directly.
face looks like a cherry tomato.
Yeah. But frankly, that's just because you use a lot of spray tanner.
Unrelated to the computer radiation. Yes.
So we're talking. This is one of those weird weeks. I'm gonna say it because I know what this episode's about.
Right.
Because this is part 2 of an episode that we did last week, all about fucking radiophobia and like cell phones and the fear of like radiation and shit leading into 5G.
Yes.
So this week, I get to introduce it. We're talking about 5G and 5G conspiracies.
Yeah. We basically left off with me talking about how cell phones came onto the scene. There were conspiracies about cell phones too, like urban legends. And
were there ever any beeper things?
I'm assuming that probably got
beepers.
I didn't run across a lot of beeper.
Okay.
Beeper wasn't a big thing.
Okay. I mean, yeah, they're usually pretty small. They
These were like tiny beepers, but no, they didn't like have. I think you could just group that in with like cell phone technology or just like any of the stuff that I was talking about. But with the explosion of cell phones in the 90s into the early 2000s, we would get these network standards and things, and that would start with 1G and work its way up through the years, 2G, 3G, etc.
4G LTE.
Yes.
5G. Yeah.
5G. There was like a whole scandal with like AT&T, I think, where like they like basically took their 4G network and then like slapped like a 5G thing on it and told people it was 5G, but it was really 4G. And then to get like 5G plus, which was the real 5G, you had to pay like a lot of extra. It was like a whole thing.
So, yeah,
the real
recurring theme of this whole thing is capitalism.
Yeah, the real conspiracy is how the cellular companies are trying to fuck you.
Big business trying to fuck me.
Yeah.
Big power lines trying to give me leukemia.
Yes. So with all that being said, let's get into the conspiracy side of things, because I did a lot of history and a little bit of conspiracy. This is no history. I'm throwing the science and the history out the fucking window now.
Yeah, for anyone who is like a little like, this little conspiracy light last week. Well, buckle the fuck up, everybody. Let's go.
Pretty much. So here's the big struggle with 5G conspiracy. This is one of them. Literally just about any globally inflicted conspiracy idea that you can think of can slot into the 5G paranoia.
Yeah.
This is what makes this one hard to do.
Because it factors into like depopulation, New World Order, like
Everything.
Fucking chemtrails, like all
Yes.
this shit.
It's amazing. So Niall is already pretty well aware of this stuff. Just this is the other angle of this is like Niall, just by doing this show for as long as we have, knows the things I'm going to talk about. So for the uninitiated, welcome. Niall's going to be able to provide some commentary that he wouldn't normally be able to just because he's not playing the fool role this week. So
I'm
essentially,
I'm playing the trying to remember episodes from 4 years ago role this week. So let's go.
So here's the thing: conspiracy about the technology began cropping up. This was like a thing that, like, it sounds like there's a big gap, but like suspicion of cell phones and like network towers was a thing, but it wasn't like a like. I don't want to use the term organized,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't like a thing until like 5G was coming out.
Yeah.
So they began kind of cropping up more regularly in the conspiracy communities in 2016, which is when 5G was like introduced. For some reason, this is when people became more aware of the actual like network generations and naming it, and they had like a thing they could point to with their like radiophobia style fears.
Yeah.
Like a name for your invisible enemy.
Which is silly because like they've done this. I remember 3 and 4 and 4G LTE. Like I remember all of these things having ad campaigns, but I will say 5G
5 was the one.
Did feel like it was a much broader, more like intensive push in our ad campaigns.
There's very much a reason for that. I'm sure that those people existed before that through all the generations. It's just you didn't get people getting specific about networks as much until 5G. So basically everything you find about 5G conspiracies, this is the other thing about 5G. Anything from 2020 onwards is completely and utterly entangled in coronavirus stuff.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Prior to COVID-19, I found that 2017 and 2018 were when the conspiracy theorists seemed to really sink their teeth into it. But like a lot of places will make you think that like 2020 was like the year of the 5G conspiracy, and that's not the case. I mean, it is because it exploded then. Because
but it's been around.
It's been around. The sad, terrible thing is that the implementation, the more widespread implementation of 5G coincided with the coronavirus outbreak.
Okay.
That's the problem here. Synchronicity by Sting. One of the earliest articles connected to 5G specifically that I found came in 2017, in which calls were being made to get the technology banned outright. So this was written by a Canadian conspiracy theorist named Jerry Flynn.
Okay.
It first highlights quotes from U.S. presidents talking about various things like military and government's incestuous relationship, corruption, and then, of course, radiation-induced cancer. Does the name Jerry Flynn ring a bell to you?
A little bit, and I'm trying to figure out why.
Because it's a wrestler.
Okay.
There's a wrestler named Jerry Flynn.
Okay.
I do believe, because when I put some keywords together, I found fan fiction about a WWE wrestler on a GeoCities website, and the wrestler's name was Jerry Flynn.
Okay.
And it was like a multi-part fan fiction. I bookmarked that shit. I was like, I gotta figure out like it is like a black website with like red text GeoCities. Like it is
very, very old school.
Very old school. And I was delighted. But then what I can tell you about the conspiracy Jerry Flynn is that he's contributed posts to a conspiracy blog site almost entirely about 5G, and this is as far back as 2016, 2017. So this is not the wrestler.
Yeah,
by the way.
I figured. Because the wrestler, I think, might have been dead by that point.
Oh, shit. Well, rest in peace.
He might still be alive.
Okay, cool.
Never mind.
Well, he's got some fan fiction out there waiting for him if he wants it.
But he retired in 2001.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
So he says that non-industry scientists the world over are worried that the new, much higher microwave frequencies used in 5G technology have never been independently tested for safety. Yet the Canadian telecom industry have already completed their initial tests to prove the technology. U.S. companies are already installing 5G in some U.S. states. This is 2017. And here's the thing, the whole not being tested for safety, That's just a lie.
Yeah.
There is a standards and like practices sort of division of telecommunications that like oversees all this stuff.
Well, I mean, independent means the people that are writing these conspiracies haven't
Right.
tested
They
it.
haven't gone up and like, licked their fingers and touched it.
Because the actual okay, here's the thing that I think that is like why I can kind of not get where these guys are coming from, but the thing that like there is and should be a distrust of massive corporations
Sure,
testing their own
absolutely.
things.
Absolutely.
Like self-regulation in a profit-driven company is going to always fail.
I will say there is a union, a telecommunications union that isn't like associated, as far as I know, with like a particular company that is like
Okay.
actually a part of like ensuring that there's like some sort of like safety standard with this.
Okay.
So it does, it's not just companies. Like I completely agree with what you're saying, mind you, but like there was like a whole thing, like by all accounts, this shit's safe.
Okay.
Keep that in.
This wasn't me caping up saying
I know
that
you're
5G
not. I know
is
you're
bad.
not. I'm here, audience. Pretend I'm looking at you right now. Pretend I'm glowering down at you right now, and just hear me now say, 5G is fucking fine. It's not a problem.
Well, what about 6G?
That's a different story. We're gonna have to get into that one when they start rolling it out. Here's a fun fact about 5G.
Okay.
It is a problem, but for none of the reasons these people think of.
Doesn't it have a problem for like birds or something?
That's the conspiracy people.
Okay.
It is a problem for weather data.
Okay.
And potentially GPS systems.
Okay.
It's something about, I don't know the technical like stuff going on here, but basically getting weather data, because of the frequencies that they're using with this like scaling up to 5G, it actually has the potential to interfere with that. And they like basically, what I was reading is that weather reporting where 5G is like heavily like implemented is like kind of interfering to the point where like the technology, the data coming in has effectively like gone back to the speeds of like the late 80s, early 90s.
Interesting.
Because of 5G. So there are issues with it, just not for people's individual health.
Yeah.
Like none of that whatsoever. I mean, like, okay, think about that though. Like it's like kind of like in the same wavelength here, or I don't know the science behind it, but like when you think about that idea generally, that it's like, hey, it's like intermingling with like our weather reporting data systems.
Yeah.
Then we should have been afraid of like weather data reporting systems.
Yeah,
this
the Weather
entire
Channel
time.
is my enemy.
Right. Like it's like, I don't know. It's silly.
Channel 99's got to go.
So he goes on to say, fifth generation technology, if implemented nationally, would further irradiate the entire population of Canada without their knowledge, comprehension of what is being done to them, or their consent. So you thought you were a safe level of irradiated? Think again.
Yeah. Oh God. Okay.
This is one of my favorite things that conspiracy theorists do, because he goes on to say, this would be yet another even more serious
than irradiating all of
Canada.
Canada?
Violation
Okay.
of the Nuremberg Code. And the most heinous crime imaginable. And what I really liked about this guy's site is he had a hyperlink on the to what the Nuremberg Code is.
Yeah.
So
isn't that only during war though?
Maybe, could be, probably. I mean, when you're a conspiracy theorist, you're always at war. Let's be real.
Well, here's the thing: because there's the gold fringe around the flag, that means that is the military flag. So we technically are under martial law and in like wartime at all times.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Thank you for reminding me.
That's another one that like there isn't enough to do an episode on, but I would love to talk about the fucking gold fringe flag theory.
I forgot about that shit. It's
so buck wild.
I think that one came up for me when I was researching. I'm not going to come up with the name, but basically the one where Walmarts were being
the FEMA camps.
Yeah, turned into FEMA death camps and stuff. And it was like this like training operation in Texas. Yep. That one, people know what I'm talking about. But Jade Helm. That's where that shit came up. There were like these open symbols of like, hey, actually you're under martial law, and they have these. Yeah, you get it. So
gold fringe flag theory.
It's so crazy.
It's one that I would love to do if I could figure out how to make it a full episode.
So While the current and all three previous generations of microwave technology also violate the Nuremberg Code, informed people fear that 5G would prove
Huntington Beach is a war criminal. Prosecute them under war crime.
yeah. So it's like God, we've been doing it's so weird too, because it's like, do they think that like every generation of cellular networks been doing this? So like since 79 we've been like giving everybody cancer. I feel like there'd be an uptick in that, right? Like I'd feel like there'd be like I feel like people would be exploding and shit.
These
like,
same people are the people that don't believe like COVID death report statistics.
Right.
So it's the people that think
bit of
that
a
like
contradiction.
the doctors are in on the whole thing and being paid to inaccurately report cancer death.
Right.
If I had to guess.
That's probably pretty accurate.
All I'm saying is Black and Decker, watch the fuck out.
Yeah. So, these previous generations violate the Nuremberg Code, inform people fear that 5G would prove to be mankind's Armageddon of industry's own selfish creation.
I'm just gonna start saying that like certain like modern technologies just like go against the code of chivalry and just base a lot of conspiracy theories around that.
Yeah, I think you could get a lot of hits with that one. Yeah. Start posting about it, you know?
Yeah.
You'd really get some followers. So we
listening to Joe Rogan is goes against the Bushido code. And I will die on this hill.
Oh shit, the 5G poisons are kicking in. So we know it's a threat, but what exactly is 5G doing to humans now? Well, you may ask, that depends on which quack you ask.
Okay.
Which we're gonna have to start a segment. We need like a theme song for
Quack
which
of the
quack
week.
you ask. Yeah, quack of the week. Prior to COVID-19, the general idea seemed to be population control stuff, both in the sense that people would be murdered in mass for whatever reason, a question mark.
Yeah.
And in the sense of like keeping the disgruntled and fearful public in line. So it's like an ever-present threat that like keeps you from getting too out of control, or else they'll zap you with rays or whatever.
Yeah.
So
it's like microwave weapons.
It's the same. This ties. By the way, this will tie into something that you did a topic on that I am. It was beautiful seeing this show up. So, conspiracy theorist Roseanne Lindsay on the Nature of Healing website says the need for speed has the consequence of going from moderate to severe health effects in record time.
I got a need for 5G.
Back the fuck up on that nitrous. Stop fucking playing Need for Speed, everybody. We can't be having this. This is what's causing 5G.
Yeah. That means that in some small way, Aaron Paul is responsible for starring in the movie adaptation of Need for Speed.
Yeah, Aaron Paul, we're looking at you. If you want to,
and hey, another like car-based franchise, Paul Walker was killed because of talking about male birth control.
What?
Yeah.
What?
So he was. There's a conspiracy around Paul Walker's death about like tied to like basically like various doctors and stuff trying to kill him for investing and like helping out these companies that were researching male birth control.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's all that I haven't talked about that.
I have never heard of that before.
There are other conspiracies
insane.
too, but there are people that think that Paul Walker was a CIA operative.
I feel like if I can be conspiracy brained about male birth control here.
Yeah.
I feel like it's more like certain industries would basically get a negative monetary thing from men being able to basically get their balls jabbed every couple years.
Yeah. I mean, it's
prevent pregnancy.
It's basically like the reason why our light bulbs still burn out. Makes a kind of manufactured obsolescence.
They want us to keep on
buying condoms and
coming loads that.
Yeah. Big load over here is trying to hold down.
Big load. Yeah. So
trying to hold down male birth control.
Hey, guys, fellas, don't let big load hold you down. So,
Oh, fuck.
Jesus Christ, where
This
was
episode will not be called Big Load.
Come on. So she goes on to say, note that 4G, this is where they do science. Note that 4G operates at 2.5 gigahertz or oscillates about 2.5 billion times per second. This frequency mimics water molecules in your body and was chosen specifically for broadcasting services and equipment under government license. This means that all company products must meet this frequency or be deemed illegal. For what purpose is matching the human body's frequency, you may ask, other than for weaponization? Good question. The higher frequencies of 5G, 100 gigahertz and beyond, will use small-scale wireless refrigerator boxes placed in front of every 2 to 10 homes on every street in every city. As you watch the latest Hollywood flick, you will bask, unaware, in microwave emissions that oscillate at the same rate as your blood and oxygen molecules. These frequencies can cause burning sensations on your skin, impact fertility, as well as alter the electrochemical waves of your brain to affect consciousness.
I think if every time I try to sit down and watch Popstar Never Stop, Never Stopping,
Mm-hmm.
I started feeling burns on me.
And you suddenly got the sense that you weren't as virile as you were before?
Yeah, I mean, that's less of a problem. I'm not planning on it being on ever having
Yeah,
children.
but what if your loads are small? What if you no longer have that big load?
I'm just like, I'll just start using like Blue Chew or whatever the fuck. I don't know. We'll get a Blue Chew.
We'll get a Blue Chew. We'll break our one rule and get a Blue Chew sponsorship.
Hey, no, I'm not even gonna do that. So yeah, but that 2 to 10 households thing, that makes no fucking sense.
Niall,
if they started installing refrigerators in front of 1 out of every fucking 4 houses, then I feel like that would be a thing that people would.
I also didn't like research what the fuck this person was talking about with the vibrational frequencies of like our like
that was absolute bullshit.
Oxygen molecules, just complete nonsense.
Oxygen doesn't vibrate at
like
10 billion cycles.
Like, that would be hilarious if it did. Think how much funnier everything would be. So it's
because that has to be resonant frequencies, and that's
right.
Like, that's just not. That's nothing. Go ahead.
That's what they're saying. It's also suggested that 5G could be acting as essentially. This was maybe my favorite thing in this entire episode. 5G could be acting as essentially an amplifier for directed energy weapons, like the ones that did 9/11.
Okay, good. Space lasers.
Is being used to manufacture the California wildfires of 2018 for some reason. There's also a lot of references to mass bird death as a likely result of the installation of 5G.
Sorry, shouts out to Garrett.
We'll have to clip this and send it to him.
Yeah, we'll have to send that one to him.
It's like I remember these things happening. I remember like there were like videos of like a lot of birds. I don't remember what the actual story was, but like when there were like mass gatherings of birds and like a lot of birds dying, people were saying, yeah, that's the 5G radiation. They're just like killing birds because why? I don't know, because they can. So if 5G can be used to harm wildlife and nature, which apparently it is, although I don't really know what the reasoning is behind that, it's unclear. It follows that it can be used to harm humans as well. So like I kind of read it as like, oh, killing birds and setting like directed wildfires. They said that they had to be like these manufactured wildfires because the trees were unharmed, but like all the grassland around it was burned and stuff. And they're like, well, clearly this is like somebody directing energy weapons on the grass or so. It's like, it's so strange. Like to what end? I don't know. The vague idea that I kind of got was like, make people scared.
But like trees were burned. Like what?
Right. But they will like claim that there were patches where it's like, oh, no trees were harmed here, just the surrounding like greenery on the ground.
Yeah.
Therefore, it's directed.
It's like in the middle of a hurricane, a random house is still standing. Like,
yeah, it's an act of God.
House got good bones.
So, it can be used to harm humans as well, especially in conjunction with the government's chemtrail program, putting microscopic metals into the populace. So, here was my this is like all a part of my favorite thing. Let's talk about one of the big conspiracy things that was the pre-COVID era. This is the fucking 5G kill grid.
Yep. Okay. I see. This is one thing that I've come across.
Yes. Now, I can't make much sense of it. It's very similar to the directed energy weapons, except it's just literally the idea is that we're being put on a grid with the layout of 5G that can basically kill any random citizen at any time. You can just fucking annihilate somebody.
The ultimate fear of conspiracy people is like that sci-fi concept of like, oh, they have your DNA so they can make a bullet that can only kill you.
Yes.
Like that is the ultimate fear for all of these conspiracies to me. Like that feels like the thing they're actually afraid of is that, because that's like the peak of personal exceptionalism and like, main character syndrome, if you want to call it that.
Yes.
In terms of like big government conspiracy, is that like some shady organization has developed this technology that can specifically and with no ability for you to not get hit by it, kill you from anywhere.
This is also the conspiracy theorists' explanation. One of the conspiracy theorists' explanations for human combustion.
Yeah,
which is like an urban legend sort of thing. Spontaneous human combustion, an urban legend thing, but that's like
a thing much like quicksand is a good joke of like you get warned about it way too much as a child,
as a kid, and you thought it was going to be a huge problem.
I know that's like a big hack like stand-up joke, but fuck it. It's a thing that like it's in like every cartoon. Why is quicksand a thing?
Yeah. So here's a little thing from the website 5G Exposed, which if you want to read all this, like they've been doing blog posts since 2017, clear up till now. It's like, and oh my god, there's a whole thing about like, there's a whole thing about like it doesn't just kill birds, but it'll kill bugs.
Okay.
And there was like this is one of the other amazing things I ran into is they had a humor section on this website.
They had funnies on the website.
Yes. They had 5G COVID-19 funnies.
Fuck me. Does Scott Adams do any of them?
He should really. Like let's be honest. That's kind of the level he's operating at these days. But no, there was one that stuck out in my brain. It was a lot of stupid shit that you would expect, like those like really surreal Photoshop images of like screaming children, and there's like a giant metallic Obama like beaming rays from his eyes down at stuff like that. But one of them was is in my head forever now. And it's like do you remember Ziggy?
Yeah, I do.
Art style kind of reminded me of fucking Ziggy. And it's like it shows this guy and he's in his car, and it's from the like perspective of like it's like looking at him from like the front as he's driving in his car and you're looking into him in the windshield.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows, and it says like driving in the 1980s, and it's the guy and he's driving and there's a bunch of bug splatters all over his windshield. And then the second panel is driving in the 1990s, and now he has a big smile on his face and there's no bugs on his windshield. And then it was like driving in the 2010s and there's no driver in the seat. It's
that's great.
Fucking
first
awesome.
They came for the bugs and I did not speak out.
Yeah. It's so fucking, oh my god, these people are really incredible.
Fantastic.
So what I learned from that website is apparently 5G affects cells in our bodies via voltage gated calcium channel activation.
That sounds like a real thing. It's not. I doubt. Well, here's the thing. It very well could be, but probably not in the way they're using it. I love like fake. You can turn on like Fringe, the show, or like other like kind of sci-fi high concept dramas where they have to like have someone explain some ridiculous thing that they're trying to put forth, and then like read a conspiracy website, and they'll both have the same jargon.
Yeah, absolutely. So it goes on to say 5G is designed to work on the 60 gigahertz frequency, which inhibits the orbital properties of electrons in the oxygen molecules and prevents the oxygen molecules from binding to the hemoglobin in our blood. 2.4 gigahertz, which has been the standard for years, is the frequency of the water molecule, which becomes destabilized when exposed. This is kill grid technology using weaponized frequencies, which will create a series of epidemics resulting in forced vaccinations and mass suffering.
When was this from?
2018.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
I love how this ends. People accept this without question because of our addiction to our gadgets and brainwashing media. Google Majesty 12. Do your research, people. Blessings.
I I talked about Majesty 12 recently,
Yeah.
which is slightly different from Majestic 12 in terms of like it being a thing that persists and continues. Like Majesty 12 is the like modern, more fucking ridiculous version of like the possibly real thing Majestic 12.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So
not real thing, but you know what I mean.
yeah. So I really love that because this is when it dawned on me that 5G conspiracy is for a lot of people who are into it, it is essentially conspiracyatizing
Mhm.
uh a boomer's disdain for people looking at their cell phones.
Yeah, it
You're literally you're moving beyond a stupid like social disdain to actually it's a conspiracy and you're all fucking stupid for not knowing it.
yep.
So stop looking at your goddamn phones. Look up from your Pokemon Goes and enjoy nature for a minute. God damn it.
Yeah.
Um
Rattata, more like look at the rat there. That's what Grandpa always said.
the idea that your grandpa would just be like, "Will you shut the fuck up about your phone? There's a wild rat right here that you could look at. You could literally be checking out a wild rat." Like, God.
Ugh.
So there's a couple versions of this. Some say we're going to get destroyed by the kill grid for population control reasons. With 5G rollout being pushed more aggressively in large cities where they'll just like zap everybody.
Yeah,
Basically.
I mean it's efficient.
Yeah. Or it'll like deteriorate your fertility, right? Like I mentioned earlier.
Good.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
I don't need it.
So this is accomplished through either inducing diseases in your bloodstream or even more hilariously, igniting the tiny metal particles from chemtrail seeding.
That's the part I've heard of is that like chemtrails are the thing that puts the bomb in you, and then 5G is the thing that blows it up. Is affected like that. That's a way oversimplification.
You know, one thing that I realized too is like I sometimes with topics like this, I go to a bit of a dark place and I browse social media for hashtags about the subject.
Yeah, that's a bad idea.
And that's occasionally a dark place. It didn't get too bad with this one, surprisingly, but like I did discover that that 5G conspiracy and chemtrails are more of a prevalent conspiracy in some non-English speaking countries than I would have thought. And this is a problem too, where like for some reason I'm just like I am like it always felt to me that stuff like this was like such a uniquely like English speaking problem and especially America.
hmm
But I was exposed to quite a few other countries, especially Japan, where there is a lot of conspiracy about this. And I was surprised, and then I realized maybe I just shouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, the U.S. is not exceptional in that.
Right. Sorry. My brain always defaults to the US is exceptional in being really stupid.
Yeah.
That's like where my brain is at with this stuff. So, but maybe I should just be more assuming that people
Hey,
are stupid everywhere.
stupidity knows no bounds.
Knows no bounds. Yeah, they can just basically blow you up
Yeah.
with a targeted beam weapon. And then in some corners of the internet, yeah, people like talked about this was a little more fringe, but people talked about the kill grid just straight up melting you by destabilizing your molecules, like basically turning you into sludge.
Yeah.
So this pre-COVID-19 conspiracy about 5G cites a number of other harmful effects outside of just straight up vaporization. So this would be causing cancer, nosebleeds, and even learning disabilities. Unfortunately, this is also one of those things. It's very closely linked to the anti-vax people. So they also say that this can cause autism because, of course, they say that.
Yep.
It can cause "quote unquote" mind fog and disrupt meditation. And this one usually falls in the camp of consciousness ascendancy New Agers. Like I said, it kills bugs and birds. Sometimes there's this vague military plot of experimenting on an unwitting public, though it's not always clear to what end. Usually, this is the non-lethal mass surveillance campaign, which is another one of those things where it's like, I can actually kind of see where you're coming from with that because that's just a real thing.
Yep.
But not in the way that they think of it. That's the short version of that. But probably vaguest of all, some claim 5G will be used to implement a Chinese-style social credit system. Uh, this is a big head scratcher for me. Not sure about how this works. Couldn't find a lot on it. Yeah,
Okay.
we're gonna do a social
They saw
credit
that
system.
episode of Black
It's
Mirror and were
yeah.
just like, oh shit.
Well, the idea I think is like they induce disease in you, which it is pretty absurd that this was a conspiracy in 2018 that it's like it's going to cause disease, and then the horrible coincidence of COVID-19 and the rollout of 5G, like affirmed that for these people.
Coincidence?
Coincidence? I think not. But then the idea there is like you will be forcibly vaccinated, and in that vaccine, you will be tied to a social credit because they will like track you.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the idea. So
And the boosters are for up like the rest of you. They couldn't fit it all in one shot,
right.
so they
Well,
keep having to like put more in.
yeah. The boosters are eventually there's
Battery
going to
recharge.
there's a recharge booster, and then there's going to be a booster down the line that gives you a real life HUD in your vision.
Oh, good.
And that's where the advertisements are going to kind of.
When do I get the Cortana booster?
God, with that, I'm not going to say that. I'm not gonna make that joke, but hopefully soon.
Okay.
And
I'm talking the full on like Halo Cortana, not the like the Microsoft assistant.
We were on the same page.
Yeah.
Stupid. With the consciousness ascendancy types, we branch off once again in a pre-COVID 5G conspiracy landscape. Chris Bourne of openhandweb.org. Wow, what a website. Check that one out. Hey, can people donate to us and like I will do one of these. I will go out to one of these retreats. We like somebody send us a couple $100 to like send me to an ascendancy retreat to become a starseed. Please, I would love to.
You don't become a starseed. You get activated.
Activate starseed activation.
I think I might have to go undercover because you're gonna really you're gonna lose your mind.
I just want to experience that.
Yeah.
Bourne talks about the reasons to fear 5G as a human consciousness warrior and ascendant divine meditation monk, basically. So here's what he says. Assuming the new rollout will be as impactful as has been sort of implied, personally, I feel the truth in that because I already feel the invasive magnitude of 3G and 4G, you have to question who exactly is behind all this and what might their agenda be. Great question, right? If we're looking at the destruction of our natural ecosystems and the serious downgrading of human consciousness with no regards at all for health, then who stands to benefit?
Big load.
Big load stands to benefit. Let's be clear, this kind of microwave EMF can cause such internal dissonance that it disconnects you from your higher self and fragments the soul in the lower self, so it's difficult to feel and follow in daily life. It makes people dumb down and easily controlled. You can break free by consciously integrating soul and shifting center of consciousness into the higher vibrations beyond the 3D. But there needs to be a 100% commitment, especially now with this quantum increase in 5G dissonance. Like, they're just throwing that word around.
Yeah.
Above all, what needs to happen is a progressive internal switch of allegiance into the higher bodily vehicles of expression, such as the spirit light body, beyond the physical, which EMF is impacting. So you need to get your meditation game, come correct with your fucking meditation game, ascend your consciousness to a higher vibrational frequency, and you will not be affected by the 5G rollout by these nefarious forces.
And the only way to do this correctly is to
go to his
one
camp,
of these
buy
camps
his
or
seminars,
get a private seminar, private consultation.
Hey, every fucking website that I went to either had advertisements or was somebody talking about that exact thing. Buy my supplement, buy my book, take my seminar. That'll be $200.
As someone who's done like, I don't even know how many episodes on this kind of shit. Yeah, that is the entire grift.
It's so, I mean, we've talked about it before. I don't need to belabor it, but like, Jesus Christ.
Not anti-spirituality, just anti-grift.
Yeah, for sure. It's just insane. Like, well, I think it's even worse when you take something as, I kind of think of as kind of an innocent thing with the spirituality. I feel like you have to approach that from a place of innocence. Take that thing and like see that there are people who are so authentically innocent about spirituality and manipulate it to make money.
Yeah.
Like it's a special kind of preying upon people. It's just crazy. Um,
Are we gonna get into like colloidal silver here or anything? Is that
I didn't see colloidal silver specifically, but I'm
okay?
sure it's in there somewhere.
Fair. Just want
Um,
to know if I could flush my system with that or something.
so the war on human consciousness is nothing new, Niall.
Oh,
Uh,
don't I know it?
this
Look, hey, leaded gasoline was that's an actual one. You want to talk about if
uh,
you want to talk about like trying to make the society dumber, like maybe look into the studies on
yeah,
why we use unleaded gasoline now.
yeah. This all just marks an intensification of what's been going on for eons. Homo sapiens, here's where it kind of starts to lose me. Uh, Homo sapiens is a hybrid species that has been genetically downgraded to fit within a system of control, with the human soul encapsulated within. So this is a thing we've talked about, right?
Yeah, are we gonna get into the purple light of creation?
I know.
Damn it. Okay.
It eventually comes to something that I'm like, I don't know what they mean. I've never heard
Okay.
anybody say this before, and I don't know what it is.
Keep going
Um,
and let's see where we
but
go.
basically, like humans used to be greater, but they got downgraded by some force, and like we have a like like greater consciousness than we know of right now, but it's trapped in these like human bodies, essentially. Like,
Yeah.
we're quote unquote like spiritually enslaved. That
Yes.
is the idea that these people kind of run with. So it says plenty of other sentient writers and researchers are also speaking about this. We can clearly see it in our this is where it loses me. We can see it in our adapted DNA coding. The shift from 48 chromosomes in original humans to 46 in Homo sapiens, which, when you deeply consider, marks a minimum of 4 simultaneous step changes that happened all at once. I don't know what the fuck any of that is. Have you run into
That's
this?
a little bit, yeah. It's a thing in these kind of like advanced humanity being downgraded kind of things where it's they look at having more chromosomes as like a more advanced being.
Okay.
So the fact that we
Okay.
lost two like sets of chromosomes from 48 to 46 is like why we have to like why we are like spiritually and in a lot of cases in the physical plane as well in like enslaved by the kind of negative forces that you have to fight with all of this shit like it really is like exactly what it's saying
Okay.
there.
Okay.
It's like we lost two chromosomes and got stepped down in society in like the spiritual hierarchy effectively.
Oh my god. Okay. So they're just saying that we should be scoring more points, like quite literally.
It's
So
literally more is more in terms
chromosomes are
like
points. Got it. Um the the most compelling evidence for me not me. This is the other guy talking. I need to make that very clear. Um comes from firsthand past life regression therapy, where I've encountered people all around the world sharing similar experiences of downgrading hybridization. Indeed, the Earth has suffered a controlling extraterrestrial intervention by several species going back millions of years. Many sentient beings here know it, have come to share the implications of it, and to help reactivate aligned human consciousness that a divinely new human can emerge out of. We are being greatly successful with awakenings accelerating the world over. The Earth is shifting simultaneously into a higher 5D paradigm of being. Now, here's this is the catch of the spiritual ascendancy version of the 5G conspiracy. This is the thing that I love about it a lot. So what he says is that's the reason for the intensification in the opposing consciousness agenda right now, aka 5G. This is the source behind 5G. They're failing to prevent the shift.
yep. That tracks.
I believe the reason for 5G is our growing success of shifting consciousness into 5D. Several times in the past, there have been Earth shifts and waves of human consciousness ascending out. Several times, advanced ET civilizations have broken down, their controlling agenda unraveled as human consciousness strives to emerge. So, the reason 5G rollout is happening is because whatever malevolent force wants to keep us subsumed as this like lower hierarchical spiritual being is now so desperate that they have started fucking with cellular
Because
networks.
this person that you're reading about, all of his seminars have created a force so powerful of the 5D ascended masters of light, I think is like the like
Yeah.
grand term for the kind of people that they work with. Um, that that tracks. I believe the reason for 5G is our growing success of shifting consciousness into 5D. Several times in the past, there have been Earth shifts and waves of human consciousness ascending out. Several times, advanced ET civilizations have broken down, their controlling agenda unraveled as human consciousness strives to emerge. So and that force has become so powerful, and like so many people are involved in it, and it's such like a community of light that they are fighting back against the alien overlords that are trying to keep us from reaching the 5D consciousness.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
I've read way too much for this stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly where this is coming from, Niall. Yeah, so this side of the conspiracy, this like angle is pretty much like you could have it be a one-to-one relationship sort of thing with like the Anunnaki, energy vampire archons conspiracy stuff where like you have to elevate your consciousness to combat malevolent forces. But this is just like this is almost just like a tool in the belt of like the malevolent forces that like do that to humanity's consciousness or whatever.
Yeah.
Like yeah, you just you need to
New technology bad.
Yeah.
And that it uses frequencies, and they deal in frequencies, therefore it's bad.
Yeah, like to combat this threat, you have to meditate to and like have a higher vibrational energy, use like various crystals and attend seminars with gurus, all that stuff we went over. So watch Gaia streaming service, try that also.
Listen to
that'll
only
help.
music recorded at 432 hertz.
Right. So if you want to know more about that stuff, like you could check out like the Archons or the Anunnaki, stuff like that. We've covered it before. It's all just like that, except this time 5G is their tool. The 5G conspiracy was largely contained within extreme fringe internet corners until COVID happened. So
It's history books are gonna be so interesting in like 20 years.
if we still have them.
Yeah, that's fair.
So January 2020 is when things start to get out of control because on the 22nd, there was an article published in a Belgian newspaper. I'm not even Het Laatste Nieuws. I'm not gonna pretend I know how to pronounce that. With the headline that translates to basically 5G is life threatening and no one knows it.
A good vague fear mongering title. Yeah.
Basically, they managed to draw this like tenuous connection between the construction of 5G cell towers around Wuhan, China,
Jesus.
to the cluster of COVID-19 cases that were at this location, which at the
they're
time,
on the kill grid now.
It was 440 infected and 9 dead at the time.
Should have been 432 infected.
432. That would have been much cleaner.
Yeah.
And a general practitioner commenting in the article, a guy named Chris Van Kerkhoven, said, "I have not done a fact check, but it may be a link with current events."
I'm talking out my ass, but
yeah. So this article ran for a couple of hours before it was ripped away from the website.
That's people are God damn it. That's going to just make people think that it's real.
Yeah. This whole situation with the article is potentially the primary origin, the patient zero for the explosion of 5G COVID stuff.
God damn.
But it was too late. People in the anti 5G community had like gotten their hands on this article. And like you said, it being removed further boosted their confidence that it was a smoking gun.
Yeah, they don't want you to know.
Yes.
You can't. This is too sensitive of information that 5G might be bad. I don't know. I didn't check. And it might have had something to do with Wuhan. I don't know. I didn't check.
Yeah.
Smoking gun.
Yeah. Now, it got worse because on March 12th, 2020, a YouTube video went viral where a doctor who was on disciplinary probation, his name is Thomas Cowan, it was a video uploaded by an anti-vaccination group called Parents for Healthcare Rights. And in the video, this disciplinary probated doctor links 5G networks to COVID. And he claims that the urban areas hardest hit by COVID-19 also experienced a rollout of 5G technology. Of course, this whole thing is debunked.
Yeah.
But American pop singer Carrie Hilson shared the video. I have no idea who this is.
I got
No idea who this is. Carrie Hilson managed to share the video with 2.3 million followers.
Thanks, Carrie.
Now, Dr. Cowan has other videos where he does the same kind of shit, and those are still on YouTube. Even though, like, at a certain point, YouTube does say, like, hey, we're going to, like, remove misleading coronavirus videos. A lot of that guy's stuff is still up. So then it got worse again because more celebrities began to share their concerns, quote unquote, about COVID-19 and 5G and the links that are there, supposedly. And like, you can think about all this as like with any of the social media, how the algorithm starts to amplify all of this. But I didn't recognize some of the celebrity names. So it's Jason Gardner was a notable one. Lucy Watson.
Carrie Hilson was in Riddick.
Oh, shit. Okay, well, that's unfortunate.
God damn it.
Eamon Holmes, don't know who that is. But check this out. Woody Harrelson shared some stuff on this.
Damn it,
a lot of these celebrities would end up deleting this stuff like later because presumably they had like a PR person who was like, can you not fucking do that? But also Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and David Icke, of course,
fantastic,
are all like sharing this conspiracy now. And it's literally just, you're not stoking the flames, you're tossing a giant bag of gasoline onto the fire.
And saying that you're tossing water. Like,
And then, of course, British musical artist MIA was also very vocal about her anti-5G stuff, even before the COVID-19 conspiracy.
Really?
Yep.
Man, haven't checked in with MIA in a while.
Me neither.
I remember Paper Plane, like having a weird, irrational hatred of Paper Planes that sampled The Clash, and I didn't like it.
Yeah, well,
but that was
now you have a real reason to have some questions for MIA. She tweeted this thing that like made a connection with a quote unquote prior pandemic and radio waves. And this was like well before the COVID-19 5G connection had come about.
Interesting.
Quote unquote connection. So like I didn't get to see this tweet, but it was basically saying like there was another pandemic that was linked to radio waves somehow. So
okay. I would be interested to read about that.
No fucking idea what that would have been. I could wager some guesses, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Now
it's the Great Chicago Fire.
It could be. With the coronavirus version of things, you either can like slot all these old things that I already mentioned in like right in, but be like you know how the guy was like in 2018, like they're going to manufacture diseases and force us to get vaccines. Hey, to him, he called COVID.
Yeah.
Even though that idea is a long-standing conspiracy theory talking point well before 5G shit was a thing.
Yeah.
Like that's
100%.
a long-standing conspiracy thing. So that's always been around. This is just a happy coincidence that makes them all feel very vindicated.
Hey, if you keep calling shots, eventually you'll get some right.
That's true. And hey, Niall, you're the living example of that sometimes, you know, like, well, I guess that's more me. Because you actually call shots, and then I'll just like throw things at the wall until something happens. But so here are the various mutations, if you will, of the COVID-19 conspiracy theory about 5G. So you have the coronavirus is real but amplified by 5G camp.
That seems like such a weird middle ground.
It's like they're taking a pre-existing disease and like making it worse.
Yeah,
is the idea,
okay.
And it again. This fits into the population control stuff. There is the COVID is fake, but 5G is causing the sickness. Then there's COVID is real, and it's 5G that's spreading it.
Okay.
Which again, that's like the activating disease. Like that, these are all these work under the framework of the original conspiracy, really, like quote unquote work. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm with you.
There's also 5G suppressing the immune system to make you more susceptible to catching the virus. There is COVID is actually a distraction to enable like the widespread implementation of 5G.
It was already happening.
Right.
Like that one seems fake. Well, I mean, these are all fake, but that one seems like not.
They're
That
basically
makes no
like,
sense.
I was watching like a video, like there was like a BBC documentary where like people were talking about this stuff, and there was like a guy in there who was talking about how like in some cases people are saying coronavirus isn't real. They just want you to stay inside so they can install more of these towers. Like that was the idea that they were running with.
Because if we're outside, they can't.
We can't do anything about it. Hey, here's the thing that we're going to get to here in a moment. People tried to do things about it.
Fantastic. God damn it.
So there's also 5G causes the illness, and the lockdowns are being done. Sorry, this is one I just mentioned. Lockdowns are being done to cover for the installations. There's also 5G will activate RFID chips in vaccines and do whatever with that.
Yeah, vague. Yeah, I love like chip things.
The chip stuff is very vague.
Like, sure, tracking. That's a thing you could try to sell. Like, I wouldn't believe it, but you can try to like. There's at least some level of logical, like, throughput of that. But when they're just like they implant you with a chip that's going to mind control or what? Like what?
Yeah.
Like what are you talking about?
There's another one here where I think this may be one because like 5G conspiracy theory stuff is like it's not unique to the far right fringe, but it is mostly that. And so there's one here about how like coronaviruses, like the viruses quote unquote talk to each other and they like make decisions about which host they actually infect. And that is being facilitated by 5G. And the reason I bring up the far right thing is I feel like this is a response to Donald Trump being infected with COVID.
Okay.
I don't know that for sure, but that's kind of what it feels like, right? Like it's like we choose to infect like people who
there was the rash of like conservative radio hosts and stuff who died from coronavirus.
Right.
And it's like that no, they're not. The virus isn't communicating with something. You guys just aren't getting vaccinated.
Just aren't getting vaccinated. You're not wearing masks. You're not obeying lockdowns. You're not. Sorry, I say obeying is like not even a good term for it because it's like you're not observing lockdowns, which is like you're fucking. It's like like one of the bare minimums you can do to ensure that like people don't die from this shit.
Yeah.
Like, anyways, so. Like
I'm really curious if we're gonna have any listeners who are like with us up until talking about coronavirus, and now we're like,
look, I feel like we weeded a lot of people out in the last year or so of podcast episodes. Like, if you're not with us on this stuff, then you're already gone, probably.
Yeah.
I would hope that would have weeded out the weird anti-COVID sentiment stuff where it's like, you know, like anti-lockdown, anti-vaccine people. Like, please. Get fucking vaccinated. Get boosted if you're if you can do all that, do it. Wear a mask when appropriate. Like, just fucking for fuck's sake. I'm so sick of this shit. I can't believe this is still an argument 2+ years in. Like, it's insane. So, like I said, there were real consequences for this spreading like it did. In the United Kingdom, there were at least 50 reports of mobile phone towers or equipment boxes being set on fire in arson attacks. That was in like 4 days in February, and then from like a couple days in April, there were at least 20 mobile phone masts set on fire or vandalized.
Jesus, I mean that's like not a lot, but it is, you know, like in terms of in like they didn't accomplish much.
They accomplished well, but that's the thing. This shit is expensive.
Yeah, true.
Putting this stuff up is expensive. There's a whole thing that honestly I don't think I'm not gonna have time to get into because it's a whole thing. But like, there's a whole aspect to this where like we not only like kind of like one of the big providers of technology for putting this stuff out there comes from China. And when Donald Trump was president, he basically put the kibosh as much as he could on dealings with the Chinese telecommunications like services and all this stuff. And basically that put us in this position where like we're not working with these people to the extent that we could be to put this stuff up, but also people are destroying things. And so we have
so it
some
does
inoperable. So like it didn't like ruin it. Like obviously we all still were able to use our phones. Like we didn't have like some mass outage or anything, but like I guarantee this was a headache for people like in a number of places. Like it's just fucking ridiculous. Probably not going to have time to get into that, but that's a whole thing on this. This is the actual worst part of everything though, is that telecommunication workers were harassed. They were like people, oh God, I've seen video of it. Like it's disgusting. Basically people who were being sent out to places to put up towers and work on towers are being harassed by people. The worst one that I saw involved a guy where basically the guy ended up like the guy who was really angry about the telecommunications worker spat on the dude. And then the dude later came down with coronavirus.
Jesus.
So yeah. And I saw a guy get like arrested for harassing. I saw a video of a guy getting arrested for harassing telecommunications workers. And he's like being like pulled away from this guy on the streets of like London. And he's like yelling about fascism the whole time. It's like it's fucking nuts. Yeah.
In a free society, I can burn down telecommunications equipment.
Straight up, there were some workers who would like basically disguise their vehicles and uniforms to avoid this harassment while working.
Good for them. Sucks that that's
like,
happened.
These people are fucking morons. Who like sometimes these were people who had like no involvement with the installation of 5G towers. Also, it was just like, you can see where that's kind of going. So, it's so fucked up. In the Netherlands, there was a police investigation into multiple arson attacks and attempted arson attacks on mobile phone towers, and fuck 5G was found painted at the scene of one tower. So I'm gonna briefly mention it, but basically the Chinese company Huawei, I'm not doing that right. This technologies group and ZTE Corporation, they were like a sizable share of the telecommunications market, and they were two of the five main providers of 5G infrastructure components. Then alarms were raised in the United States about these companies having ties to the Chinese Communist Party. And they basically said these people are giving themselves an opportunity to spy on foreign nations using their equipment. So the Trump administration approached multiple countries and tried to discourage them from working with these people. And on May 15th, 2019, Donald Trump signed an executive order that banned U.S. companies from using equipment made by firms that pose a national security risk, notably targeting the companies I just mentioned. It was extended out in May of 2020 for another year, but then in early May 2020, the U.S. Department of Commerce basically put out a new rule that would like allow U.S. companies to work with these people again.
Okay.
So, so we tried. Our noble hero Donald Trump tried to stop the whole business.
Tried to shoot the whole telecommunications infrastructure in the foot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jesus Christ.
All
right.
So, yeah. And like the other thing that they bring up too with like people setting fires to telecommunications towers is like during the pandemic, the economy was also really fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
All these factors led to the headaches and everything that I mentioned before. So where does all of this leave us? Because this kind of basically takes us up to modern day, to where we are now.
Yeah.
Fringe, often right-wing conspiracy theorists have been whipped up into a frenzy about 5G, but like, it seems to me, this is my assessment, The initial outburst has kind of dipped down to a baseline level of paranoia. That hasn't stopped grifters in the same vein as Alex Jones or anybody I've mentioned in this episode, from like, shilling bullshit products to sell people and preying on this long-standing phobia. Uh, and there's still even been attempts of like these so-called activist groups in US and in Britain where they're trying to ban 5G or prevent implementation of more towers. None of it's really worked, and it's usually resulting in the FDA saying like there's been no danger found associated with this. Fuck off. But this vicious online cycle continues, and so presumably the activism stuff will keep happening, things like that. I don't think we're going to have outbursts in like a 2-month period of people like trying to burn down towers like that again, unless something new happens. But based on my research on this topic and all the stuff that I saw, I think conspiracies surrounding 5G and all future generations of telecommunications networks, this is here to stay.
Yeah.
This is on the same level of like general conspiracy stuff like New World Order and Project Bluebeam, where it has essentially established a new conspiracy canon. You can slot whatever you'd like into it. It answers everything you want. And so I anticipate 5G, 6G, and so on will be showing up in our topics forever.
4G vibrated your blood or your water in your body. 5G vibrated your blood and your air.
And your air. It does it all.
So what is 6G going to be tied to?
Your penis weenus, of course. So that's
fucking stupid.
I said to you before we started recording these episodes, this could be a 10-part series. I've left a lot of things out, but it would basically be me reading fringe conspiracy theory, like listing out crazy shit that all essentially will sound the same.
Yeah.
Like literally every like definition of the conspiracy that I listed out earlier, you could find like something on every single one of those. I don't think it's worth the time. I think we cover the overall thing, and that's all we need.
Till we start running out of content, and then welcome back 5G.
And you know what I've always said to that thought creeping in is there are no signs.
I know
of content ever running dry.
That's the joke.
Never.
Keep finding new stuff.
I mean, hey, you know what? The other thing that made me kind of break into a cold sweat while doing this one is like, yeah, the last like 2 to 4 years of 5G conspiracy cemented a new canon. What's the next fucking thing that is so big? Because this is the trend we're now in, is where like conspiracies are like mainstream. What's the next big fucking thing to establish a new canon? And I hope it's something juicy so we can cover it on the show.
Yeah.
So, no, it's terrible. Honestly, it would here's another thought. It would be in the best interest in the world if we ran out of content.
Yeah. May the world make this podcast like entirely
obsolete. Like we maybe cryptid and UFO and ghost stuff can still come around, but the conspiracy side of this podcast, if that dried up forever, we would be living in a better world.
Yeah.
I
don't disagree.
Yeah.
I would love it if just like folkloric type legend type stuff took a rise again instead of conspiracies.
That'd be fun.
Like maybe we could figure something out where it's like all of a sudden we now think there's like some like evil force in the woods that don't go near it, you know? Like I want more of that stuff.
I love that stuff. That's definitely the stuff. We should start telling ourselves folkloric horror stories to keep people from posting online.
Yeah.
Let's come up with some internet folklore that's like the internet demon Emailicus will.
I mean, you're basically just describing the genesis of creepypasta.
That's true. That's true. We gotta start putting creepypasta in conspiracy communities, and creepypasta about how internet demons will eat you if you post about 5G.
Yeah, there you go.
So Niall, that's 5G.
Yeah.
Did I enlighten you in any way?
There was some stuff I haven't heard of in there for sure.
Cool.
Like, I understand the general like pervasiveness of it.
Yeah.
But there's definitely some stuff that I haven't heard of. So.
Yeah.
So what is a second big question about 5G look like?
I tried to keep it short and sweet.
Okay.
For this one, what flavor do you think 6G will be?
Ooh, I think honestly, like I'm hoping for like a raspberry lime. Like I think we could
Mm,
do something a little more like
that
tart and
sounds good.
refreshing.
That sounds good.
After because I feel like 5G is like very cloyingly sweet in a lot of
Mhm.
ways. Don't worry about explaining it. Just take that at face value. I think that it would be really good if we can
Just
get kind of a little bit more of a
a
tart and like
tartness?
refreshing bright flavor for 6G.
Okay. I'm picturing more of like a more like sort of like full sweet flavor that's like rich. So I'm thinking like those hard candies that were like strawberries and
Cream savers, I
cream
do know those.
savers.
Yes,
I'm thinking 6G is going to be a variety of cream savers flavors. No,
man,
sorry, I guess I'm hoping because I miss those a
I
lot.
do too.
Those are so good.
I don't think this is the first time we've talked about wanting cream savers to come back on this podcast.
What's cream savers? We'll bring back cream savers. This podcast. I know for a fact we talked about bringing back Dunkaroos, and that
Yep.
happened. So maybe cream savers are on their way.
Surge made a resurgence,
Resurgence,
since this podcast started.
amazing.
Um, that's actually the secret, like secondary part of this podcast is us trying to
Revive
revive old
old snacks
snacks.
and yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely, and candies and drinks. Absolutely, I'm
I
here
used
for
to
it.
I used to eat the shit out of fucking strawberries and cream
I love that
savers.
shit. Whenever like there was like a teacher at school who had like a candy dish or like
Yeah,
somebody would bring something to school, like oh my god, whenever they had those, I was always on the cream savers, 100%.
that just reminds me of my
Best.
my seventh grade social studies teacher had like for winning games and stuff in class or you're on your birthday, you could choose a drink from his cooler. And he had
Oh,
like sodas and like waters and juice and stuff, but he also had goat's milk
what
that
the
he would
fuck?
like that was like the like, oh, are you the kind of like daring kid? You're gonna try some goat's milk.
Did anybody do it?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah. I don't know if that's
Hey,
like because he would like pour a glass of it because he didn't need like a full bottle of it was
do you
like
think it was like maybe not goat's milk and he was just like doing a bit or
I think it was goat's milk.
it was
I
goat's milk?
because he it was always like I saw him crack open a bottle.
Oh,
So
we crack open a goat and
yeah.
pour one out. It would be really funny if you had to force the entire class to drink it. Now
Yeah, that
there's
would be
some
interesting.
stakes. My seventh grade social studies teacher, my memory of her. Sorry, this is the end of the episode, but this just reminded me. We would play Black Ops, which was whenever the lights were out. And we were like watching
Oh,
a
not
movie.
Call of Duty. Okay.
No, no, no.
I
We
was
would
like,
play
that's too
a game.
early.
We called the game Black Ops, and the idea would be you would get kind of like tagged, and you would have to drop onto the ground of the classroom floor while the lights are out and they're watching a movie or something, and crawl around and try and tag the other person's desk, and then crawl back to your desk without getting noticed by the teacher. We won that game surprisingly often. That was also the teacher where the entire class. Oh God. The entire class did the thing where you waited for a specific time to drop your books all at the same time. And
Good old prank.
we made our seventh grade teacher cry with that one.
Oh no.
She was
Kids are cruel.
yeah. I don't think that was anybody's intention, but that's what happened. So
Jesus.
she
And
was
you hooligans.
she was just it was one of those terrible things with the cruelty of children where like you can get away with some shit with this lady, and we pushed her to a point where she just was so upset, and like they had to
Yeah.
call in like a meaner teacher to reprimand us. It was God so terrible. I'm
The
sorry.
idea when you said we had to call in a meaner teacher, I immediately was like, oh yeah, there's like a hierarchy of mean teachers and
Yes.
in any given department, and like which if you fuck up with a nice teacher, you're going to get talked to by the mean teacher, and I can tell you exactly like which
Yep.
one that is in each of my grades.
Yep.
Is a fucked up thing about our educational system.
That's
Whatever. Weird thing to go out on, but that just gave me like a
So,
visceral reaction.
I'm sincerely, Mrs. Kennedy, I apologize. So do you want to do some business?
Yeah, let's take care of some business. So if you want to follow more of the show, you can follow us on Twitter at IGW Podcast.
You can follow us on Facebook.com/It Gets Weird Podcast.
And you can follow us on all your favorite podcatchers from Stitcher to Google Play to Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If you listen to podcasts somewhere, look up It Gets Weird, and we're almost certainly there.
Email us at itgetsweirdpodcast@gmail.com. What was your seventh grade social studies class like? I want to hear all about it.
Did you know the mean teacher?
Did you know the mean teacher?
in the hall? You know,
Did you know the nice teacher that you could get away with
Yeah.
playing Black Ops in her class? Patreon.com/It Gets Weird. Look, you can donate money to us. And of course you want to. $2 tier, you get access to a bonus show called It Gets Weird TV, where we're watching Gravity Falls currently. That show comes out every other week. And then at the $5 tier, you get access to that show plus another show on the off weeks to It Gets Weird TV. So you're getting a bonus episode every single week. Whether you're donating to the $2 tier or $5 tier, you get access to the main show 2 days early. You get access to our Discord, which is popping off. We're talking about all kinds of stuff. And yeah, you reap all these amazing benefits donating to patreon.com/itgetsweird. We also have a $1 tier if you just want to kick us a tip and say, hey, I like what you do. Here's $1 a month, but you don't get anything out of it. You just get the satisfaction of helping your favorite podcast. If you can't donate, please tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your congressman all about It Gets Weird podcast.
Well, on that note, I think we'll wrap this one up. Thank you all for listening. This has been It Gets Weird, and I've been Niall.
And I'm Kyle, signing out.